I'm just going to be going through some hip exercises that my mum has requested as she's getting a little bit of arthritis pain in the side of her hip, especially during things like compression where she's feeling the bone hitting bone. So let's get straight into them. The first one we can do is extending one leg. So I have my pelvis facing the same way as that extended leg and drawing the knee in only to where you're feeling it good. You're not feeling any pain there. And then you're just going to bring that foot out into Janu Shirshasana, and I'd recommend having a block handy. And you can always support that knee either with the high side or the low side of the block. And maybe just doing a very gentle opening, lifting and just softening that knee. If you find that that's still okay, you can cup that foot and the knee in one hand and just doing a little bit of rotations like this. And she's finding that things like pigeon or that half lotus, so we come into this deep shape, is where she's really feeling the compression on the inner hip. So I would stay quite shallow, where it's a little bit more comfortable. And then if you want to go forward and add a bit of a hamstring stretch, the foot can either be towards the inner thigh or it can be to the inner knee. And again, you can keep that support or take it away. Or you can have the foot a little bit further away from the extended leg. And this just helps open up the back of the hip. And you can come forward over that leg, maybe holding on with a strap or with the hands to get length through the spine, and then slowly coming further forward. Over time with your breath, try and have maybe minimum 5 to 10 breaths here, and then lengthening on the inhale, and then exhaling, slowly releasing. And so I'm going to come into bridge pose. And so have your block handy, you will need it, if not now, then soon. And just take that to the side. So we're going to start off just by keeping one knee bent so that you can just about reach the heels, and then extending one leg, palm turning up. And then from here, you're going to keep that foot internally rotated, pushing the backs of the hands into the floor and lifting the leg. Just really simple exercises, keeping your base knee drawn in and the lower back, so lower abdomen engaged, so that your lower back isn't really in a lot of flexion. It's just nice and soft, keeping your front body pulling into your back body. Good. If that's okay and you want to make it a little bit stronger, you can keep the leg raised and do a little bit of pelvic lifting, so you're opening up through the front of the opposite hip and just lifting. And so if that's okay, and slowly obviously do the other side, taking both feet to the floor. You can do pelvic tilts with both. If you're finding that this is a little bit much on your lower back, just do very little scoops like this, just opening the front of the hip flexors and lowering down. So really using the hamstrings here to lift up rather than squeezing the bum. Really press the feet down into the floor, neck relaxed, and all the way back down. Good. So again, about 3 reps of 5 is good on either side if it's asymmetrical, or if it's symmetrical, stay with those 3 reps of 5. From here, you can take the feet nice and wide, like as wide as your yoga mat, and just take your knees over to one side, just windscreen wipering the knees. If this is too much external rotation, use that block here. And inhaling, exhaling. And so just rolling over the back of the hips, just softening any cartilage that's maybe feeling a little bit sensitive there. So one leg's internally rotated and the other leg is externally rotated, and just keeping that moving just from side to side. Good. If that's okay and you want a little bit stronger, you can either have the feet together and just do some gentle rolls over the back of the hip. I prefer to do them up at 90, and you can even use your block, squeezing in between the knees and just rolling over to the side. And just being mindful of how far you want to twist and over to the other side. I'm always pressing the back of the hands into the floor. I have to take them a bit wider so that I have space to twist. Keeping the lower abdomen strong. Good. So after you've done those few reps, you can take away the block. You can come and lie on your side. You can prop up the head if you need to. Base knee is going to bend forward and your top leg is going to stay straight, internally rotated to start. I'm just keeping the lower abdomen engaged, so my waist is lifting a little bit here. You're going to lift up the outer line of the leg and lower it down. Lift up the outer line and lowering it down. So So you can go as high as you like. You'll really feel that IT band and the outer glutes begin to work. And this base knee is good to support, so you're not kind of like rolling forward or back. So just straight up and down. And I can already feel that happening in the outer hip here. Good. All right. Obviously, other side. From here, I like to use a block. If you have two, that's even better, so that you can really prop the hips up. Taking your block just underneath the sacrum on the side. I would take them both if you can, or a wider one. I just have one right in the middle here. And then I'm going to let that leg open up into extension. So the foot's just floppy. This bent knee stays controlled into the midline. And then internally rotate the foot and bring it back in. And then extend the leg, externally rotate, internally rotate, and bring it back in. And after you've done that a few times, you can just sit into that external rotation, letting the hip open. Another variation to do this is on the edge of something like this, a couch or a bed, where you just pull your body right on the edge. Make sure it's not something that you can roll off very easily. You can support if you need to. And just let that hip hang over the edge, especially if you're feeling like that's the area that's getting a lot of compression. Usually bringing the femur right into the front of the hip is good to release. And again, you can just let the heel be in, the toes out, and maybe do a little bit of internal rotation for the psoas and just feel what that's like and doing both sides. Okay. So my last favourite thing for hips, in which I don't have two blocks, but I'll show you anyway. They're in my car right now. You take the blocks diagonally on the thigh, so from your back, you would lie down, lift the hips up, and you would just keep the bum on the floor. Slide that block right underneath into that thigh bum groove, both sides, and then you're just extending the leg. So I'm just going to show you asymmetrically because I only have that one block. This elevates the pelvis and gives the sacrum a little bit of space and just pushes the femur right to the front of the hip. It's just a really nice place to lie for your Shavasana. If you can, you do it with both legs, but obviously the block is propping you up. So I hope this has given you some ideas and some things to play with for hip mobility. And as we get older, obviously keeping the hips nice and limber is so important for health, even just things like walking. And hopefully, my cat's just come to play. And hopefully you enjoyed, and we'll see you soon for more.